1. And hi, everybody. And Michelle is already in the group. Thank you, Michelle. You're like really prompt. I really appreciate that. Hello from Boston. And I think it might be snowing where you are because my sister lives there, or at least it was. And you guys are having some snow. I know our guest, Jody, is absolutely buried in snow too. Hi, Stephen. Great to see you. And I love how you introduced yourself, home of 2 pugs and 1 tuxedo cat. It'd be great. I want you guys to post those pictures. I know some of you are in our lifestyle group, and we get to see all those great photos there. So I appreciate that. Hi, Rhonda. So great to see you. And thanks for joining us on our holiday extravaganza last night. So I'm just going to talk to you guys for just a second and give people a chance to pop in. I want you to share with your friends and invite them to join us for this conversation, another personal conversation. Oh, I bet it's really cold where you are. And Daniela from Texas. So welcome. I want to mention, for those of you who were on the live party yesterday, thank you so much. That was a ton of fun. And I will say that I was so tired. I literally did sleep in today. That's kind of a first. And hey, Brittany from Idaho. How's the weather up there in Idaho? So anyway, if you are just now tuning in, I am Gila Kurtz. I'm one of the owners and co-founders of Dog is Good. And I'm really excited to have a conversation today with Jody Clock. It's kind of a great follow-up conversation on a different angle around a similar subject matter about the loss of our pets. And it's something that we all go through. We either have or will be, as much as we try not to think about it. But so I'm excited to share with her. And I want to remind you, as you're popping in, we always have a great giveaway. So you can enter to win. And this time, given that it's holiday theme, we are giving you guys, to get you in the spirit, if you're not already, our Happy Holidogs hoodie. And your Happy Holidogs, here we go, backwards here, Holidogs plaque. So for decoration in your home. And you can just enter to win there. Now, to find out who won, you have to be part of the private Facebook group. So go to the Dog is Good Lifestyle group and join that. And, oh, it's a warm 25 in Idaho today. I won't tell you. Let me just touch on weather for 1 second, because the weather here, you know, I have to tell you, I do pay for the weather here. I've lived all over the country as a military spouse and even different parts of the world. Got the great opportunity to live everywhere, and it was awesome. But California has the best weather, I will admit. It is so expensive to live here, but we say we pay for the weather every day. But this morning it was 40, and it's like in the 80s now. So we get this like broad range. It's kind of crazy. And 20 degrees in Maine, not counting the wind chill. Oh my goodness. So I'm excited. I see a lot of the crew that was on the holiday party last night. Letting you know, I think a lot of those orders already went out today. My little elf team and myself were here late last night making that happen. And so I hope you had a good time. We'll do that again probably, I don't know, in a couple months. Give you guys a little space to gear up for another one. But we did have a good time, and I hope that was fun for you. And yeah, of course, so Rhonda's in Hawaii. She's got a chilly 67. Where's my red holiday outfit? You want to hear something really pathetic? I was so tired when I got home last night. I actually slept in that. They are pajamas that I got from Target, but I slept in and, yeah, my husband was like, whoa. So anyway, a lot of fun there. One last thing I want to share too, if you guys, I think most of you have, but if you have not already signed up for your Fur-Covered Wisdom, a weekly dose of inspiration to think, some food for thought for the week ahead that comes to you directly from your dog, please do. And guess what? Next year, you may even be able to have your own personalized book that you can give as a gift from your dog to somebody else, or as a gift to someone from their dog, the weekly doses of Fur-Covered Wisdom. So excited to bring that to you for 2018. We'll get you more detail on that. Oh my gosh. All you peeps, you guys are way out where it is freezing. Mitzi at under 20. And I'm recognizing all your names because I was pulling orders last night. So, all right, let's get started. And while I'm introducing Jody, please, I want to ask you now to invite your friends to come join and listen. Certainly, all of you can share later as well. And for those of you tuning into the replay, thank you. Thank you for joining. So I had the pleasure of meeting Jody at a women's conference. This is for the Women in the Pet Industry. And Jody was one of the finalists for Woman of the Year. And so she's doing some incredible things. And I'm always blessed and fascinated by the opportunity to meet people about what they're doing, how they're making a difference, and how they're taking their dreams and visions and turning those into something that does good and something that they can enjoy as a career and as a successful business. So thought it was really great because for those of you who watched last week with Dr. Danny McBetty and the conversation around her company, Lap of Love, Jody, is a great business that follows up on that. And there's just so much around this conversation around grief, around the process. And so she's going to bring to the table today a lot of other valuable information for all of us. And I want to encourage you to ask questions as well. So if you do, you can ask those questions. I'm going to go ahead and give an introduction to Jody, and then we're going to just dive right on into the conversation. So Jody, for over 25 years, is CPLP, has worked in the end-of-life planning industry, including family and corporately owned funeral homes, advanced funeral planning companies, casket manufacturers, and insurance agencies. Having professionally witnessed the financial confusion that families endure, especially at an emotionally taxing time, she has centered her career on helping people understand the options that are available to them. She currently writes and speaks about the basics of Medicaid and asset protection and is a seasoned expert in the end-of-life issues that revolve around both people and pets. Jody helps her husband run his family funeral homes in Western Michigan. She and her son also own a human crematory business as well as a pet cremation and memorial center. Not in your bio, but what I thought was interesting because I was looking at the website is the company is over 100 years old, a family-owned business. I mean, what a great history there. It's fascinating. So recently, Jody also joined PetFriendly.love as the COO. I think you guys will be pretty interested in this. We'll talk a little bit more about it at the end. But PetFriendly.love is a collaborative and transparent social platform designed to provide a comprehensive pet-friendly certification program for animal products and services with the same wide recognition and acceptance as the Good Housekeeping Seal of Approval or TripAdvisor. Their mission will be to accomplish through the creation of set animal and pet-friendly standards of acceptance, excellence, and formalized alliances, partnerships of individuals and pet-friendly organizations. Pet-friendly members will take the PetFriendly.love promise and conform to a set of pet-friendly industry standards. The result will provide consumers with greater confidence, trust, and knowledge related to the use and purchase of animal and pet products and services. PetFriendly.love is built on the premise that when we are nice to animals, we are nicer to people. And that is something that I hope everybody does. I don't know if you've ever encountered the opposite. I have on occasion, and I do often wonder why, people be so kind to animals and not so kind to each other. But I'm thrilled to hear that this is a component of your foundation and philosophy. She's a published author, writing Navigating the Elder Care Journey Without Going Broke. This book is in its second edition and recently received a non-paid endorsement by business guru Ken Blanchard. He's awesome. So congratulations to you for that. That's great. She's a certified pet loss professional and has a life insurance license and holds a master's degree in organizational development with an undergraduate degree in liberal arts from Spring Arbor University. So welcome, Jody. You come to us with a wealth of experience, and that's awesome. So thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right, and she is, as I said earlier, warm and snuggy in her home because it's like 12 inches of snow where you are in Michigan right now.
Yeah, it's the blizzard out here today.
Yes. I love what Jen just said. I'm going to talk to you guys a lot throughout, if that's okay. It's so true. Animals can make us more human. They really can. So thank you for saying that. So let's dive right in. The history of Clock Funeral Home is around human. funeral services, the process, and everything leading up to that. And so a lot of that experience is led there. But clearly, you saw a trend at some point. What led you to get into the pet component around that?
Yeah. Well, thanks for that. It really launched the second half of my career. Mm-hmm. So when I had to, I had to start practicing what I was preaching. I left the vendor world and started partnering with my husband to run his family business. I felt, funeral homes just aren't a fun place to be. So therefore, we brought a therapy dog in. And so our therapy dog was a Sheltie named Max. And so we had him trained and put him through his paces. And that really just made the place a warmer environment to the point where we had our employees bring their pets to work. And so we were one of the first funeral homes that brought pets into their facility. Well, God darn it, Max very unexpectedly died. And knowing what I know, I really wanted to explore what happens when you send the pet to the vet clinic and when he's cremated. It's like, what is that process? What does it look like? And what are the legalities about it? Because that's what I used to teach. So for the most part, I didn't like what I saw. There were some places doing it extremely well, and some places, more than not doing it very well. So I just kind of said, yeah, this is just unacceptable. And I went out and I figured I'm a crazy pet parent. And if I'm kind of crazy anyhow, but if there's other like-minded people like me, they're going to want the same thing. And since people don't know what they don't know, I just kind of jumped into it. And so as strange as it sounds, I kind of flirted with it for about 3 years. The reason I say flirt is the equipment for a retort, which is the cremating machine, is very, very expensive. So I wanted to find out, because I do live in Muskegon, Michigan, not Chicago, not any of the big hubs, if there was a market that could sustain it. So I partnered with a like-minded professional, and I would, when pet parents would come to me, I would take their pets and I would cremate them. And after about 3 or 4 years, I found a real need that it was here to stay. And where I started out, my husband affectionately says it, and he's not being punitive, but it was a little hobby because people didn't talk about it. It turned into a real business real quick. And, maybe it's the 10,000 hours, but all of a sudden, in probably a 50-mile radius from our funeral home, so 50 miles is a long way for pet parents, if you think about it.
Yeah.
They come to us because all we do are private cremations for pets, or all we do is we'll sell the merchandise, meaning the caskets, or we will casket the pet. And then we help with the grief support. And so it's been a great journey, but it changes daily because pet parents, they're growing and changing, and they want to know more, and they want options. And so we're here to provide that.
Yeah, no, I think that it's so interesting. I'm going to say something with my entrepreneurial hat for just a second. And oftentimes when we're looking at business ideas and people think like, well, what can I do? How can I do things differently? Sometimes the trends sort of come upon us before we really realize that we can peer in with a little bit of a different look, and just start noticing certain things that can open up into a business. And yours is such a great service that you provide. So when you were seeing, I want to back up for a second with your discovery that you were not happy with what you were seeing. It brings me to the thought that I know in the past, like even 10 years ago when my first dog passed away, I wasn't even thinking really, like I was in such grief that whatever the vet was going to be doing later, and for us where we lived, it was going to need to be cremation. I didn't even question them taking her and what I was receiving. I know in some of your research that helped you create coaching for the pet parents to ask the right questions, to ensure that this precious gift of life was being handled in a way after life that they most wanted. what did you uncover? Like, what was it that made you decide, like, oh my gosh, there are some standards here that need to be addressed?
Yeah. Well, first I have to say, much like you, the first time I lost, I had cats. Initially, I was a cat girl, so now I
love cats too.
Full circle. And yeah, I do too. But when my first two kitties died, I really didn't think about it. I just did an advisor, and my trusted advisor was my vet. All right, so I was younger, and I really didn't think about it. I just kind of was grief struck and moved on. So there's many people like you and I, and then as we grow, we look at things differently. And pets obviously are so more a part of our families now than ever before. So with the full disclaimer, vet clinics are wonderful people, and the veterinarians or the DVMs are awesome. And for years, they have provided a solution. And that solution was to partner with, whether, there's all kinds of names for them, but we'll just say a cremation company or a cremation provider. And they did that. And it was kind of a route mentality. And so once a week, a company would go, they would come back, and they would bring the pets back. So what I found out there was that there were no legislative rules. On the human side of death care, when people will complain about the cost of it, it's because it's highly, highly, highly regulated. And there's insurance, there's everything that goes along with it, and then some in terms of emotional liability. All right. On the pet side, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. So then the responsibility falls on the vet clinics to find out who they're partnering with. And what I found is a lot of vet clinics really didn't know much about what went on behind the magic curtain or behind the door once the pet left. And so what I found probably would be the biggest takeaway in the conversation we're having today is for pet parents to ask some tough, very simple but tough questions. And number one, what facility, what cremation provider do you use and where are they located? Do they have an open door policy? And when I say open door policy, I like to use the term 60 minutes ready. 60 minutes shows up on someone's front door.
Yes.
If a pet parent showed up on the front door, could they get a tour of the facility? Could they be present to witness? Which means just if they want to place the pet into the machine, if they want to watch someone, even if they want to push the button. Sure. So transparency. And probably the most important thing is terminology. Private is private. So one means one, private means one. So if I say I want my pet privately cremated, there are no other words before, during, or after that word private. So there's no partial private, there's no private memorial. It's a private cremation. So there's really either private or communal, which means more than one. And that's not wrong or that's not right. And for whatever reasons the pet's parents choose, I don't care. I just care that they get what they paid for and they're informed as a pet parent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I think, again, in those moments of deep grief, the terminology can be confusing and you're not even thinking. And for me, like I said, I was not even thinking what to ask, other than I knew that my sweet babes were going to be cremated. So is there a difference between the process and the care of the pet during that cremation process or prior to than for people, or is that the same?
Yeah. In my world and how our care team and in the associations that I'm on the educational chair, and I'm going to give a shout out. If you see your vet is partnered with an organization called the PLPA, which is the Professional Pet Loss Alliance, that means that they're like-minded people that treat pets with the same dignity, care, and respect that the humans would receive at the end of their life. So that's germane. So in my world, the answer is yes. In other worlds, no. So you just really need to know what the standards and practices are. So no, I would say 80% of the pet death care providers don't mirror the human side. And it doesn't mean that they're not treating the pets kindly. It just means that they're not practicing the same legalities, meaning, think about when someone goes into the hospital, what's the first thing they do? They put a wristband on you, and that stays with you from beginning to end. So there's no margin for error. So what a lot of places don't do are the chains of custody, which is the bracelet, paperwork, tags, everything staying with that pet from beginning to end. Or they don't allow that 60 minutes ready walk in. So those are the real key things that can tell your answer real quick. Okay.
So I know there's just so many situations, and today the industry of memorialization is booming because we want keepsakes of our pets. What are some of the keepsakes that are, I know that like the ones that I have, which feel the most obvious, but I'm sure there's other things that are out there too. And how can one memorialize their pet? What do you recommend is the best process in the memorialization process, particularly when you're as an individual and then also as a family, whether that family includes just a significant other or children are involved, like what is that process after you've made the decision the dog needs to cross Rainbow Bridge and now you're left standing on the other side? What is the next step?
Well, you asked me, if I hear you correctly, you asked me two questions.
Yeah, I did.
The first, so that's okay. I'm going to address the second one. The first question is how does, when death happens and that transition has occurred, you memorialize or honor that pet's life? There's a lot. Oh my gosh, there's 100 little ways. And I'm going to start with something as simple as a goldfish, and you're going to kind of laugh at this. But there, a lot of times the first little pet a family gets is that goldfish from that fair, okay? And that goldfish dies. A lot of times people would take that goldfish and, well, we know where it would end up. They would flush it or they would do something. Well, now people are taking that little goldfish and they are with their child and they're either putting it in we call it a paw pod, but those goldfish that you eat that are gold, those, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, the food.
Okay, yes.
There are those, that sounded bad, yeah.
Yeah.
Correction.
They show, there's
all right, so those crackers that are goldfish.
Okay. Yeah,
all right, so, yep, there are little, called a paw pod, AWPOD. And they made, because they're shaped like that, and so when a goldfish would die, pet parents were buying those, putting the little goldfish in it, and then they would bury it. So what it was doing is two things. It taught the family the value of saying goodbye as a family and honoring that little fish. And then they also taught the child the value of a funeral or a cremation or the value of marking a life. So a life is a life. So it was marking that life. So now let's fast forward to what happens if your cat or your dog or something like that dies. The first thing you want to do is mark it. They were a part of your family. And so you want to do something. It can be as simple as lighting a candle and saying some affirmations or happy memories and talking about, the best thing I liked about Biffy was, and talking about that. It can be, which I encourage a lot of people to do, is a memorial table. So you might take a little corner of the house, you might take the mantle at the fireplace, and you're going to put up pictures and you're going to light a candle. You might put their collar, their favorite treat, just something up there that brings happy little memories. And over time, that it might stay up there, or you may move that and put it away. But if it's like me, I've had several pets, and I actually have a bookcase. And in my bookcase, I've got, pictures of all my pets. And as they've gone, I might have their cremated remains. And you would not even know that they're cremated remains because they're frames that are shaped like that. Or they're their little urns in the back. And I'll have their leash or their collar. So that's It's just there. That's a memorial. It's an unspoken one, much like anything else, like journal.
Yeah, I have that too. I have like a little shrine of the two that I've lost. I know it's not that many, but everyone means so much. But I was just noticing through some of the threads and comments here, and I just want to call out Anne Henderson Manser. She put some of her pets' curls in a glass locket for her daughter, which I thought was lovely. That's such a sweet idea. If any of you watching do have some specific ways that you have memorialized your pet that have helped you and your family that are, maybe a little bit different than the standard, just keeping it in a box on your dresser or on a bookcase, love to hear those. And I know that there's some beautiful things out there that we can purchase also to help with that as well. Let's see. Oh, somebody has public altars for companion animals where people bring pictures or mementos. And said that in Alabama. Nice. That's really nice.
So I want to answer that second part of your question, meaning when they were talking about like a keepsake for memorial. There are things that range, like she was talking about with the little fur and making a locket and those types of things. Well, we always do a clay paw print. So a lot of people might do a paw print themselves, as that pet is transitioning as a family. And there are kits that you can buy available to do that. But some of the things that we sell are jewelry. A lot of times when the cremated remains come back, there are many local artists that will, and they're just gorgeous, like stained glass sun catchers. They can make it in the shape of your pet if you provide a picture. A lot of times they'll do an art. I mean, I've got a piece of art that has my pet's cremated remains in the paint. And you don't need lots of it. You just need, a couple teaspoons. There are Pandora beads that can be made, and it's not uncommon. And I've had lots of people buy diamonds. A couple teaspoons of their pet's cremated remains can carbonate, turns into carbon, and it turns into diamonds over time. And so there's a company called Life Gem, and it's just beautiful. Beautiful.
That is beautiful. So we were talking beforehand about the loss of people versus the loss of a pet and how different people react to that. Just in your experience as a funeral home owner and operator, what do you notice is the difference in the person coming in who's dealing with the death of a loved one, human, and versus dealing with the death of their pet?
So it's very interesting because not only have I noticed it, we train a lot of apprentices at our facility, and you'll see the apprentices make the same comment. So it's pretty universal. And what will happen is, and it's not that the humans don't love their grandmother or their spouse or significant other. It's a different type of a relationship, and there's judging. Sometimes it's about money. Sometimes it's about woulda, coulda, shouldas. Sometimes it's about family dynamics. So I'm not here to throw anyone under the bus, but there's a whole different energy level that when death happens and families come in, either they're angry, they're worried about money, they're sad, but that energy is not a devastation unless it was a tragic, you know what I mean by a very tragic death. But for the normal death, not so much. When a pet dies, right? So that pet, especially if it's, how pets bond with certain family members and that's your pet, that pet loves you unconditionally. Period. So there's no judging and there's none of the stuff that goes on in that family dynamic. And when people bring their pets, they're devastated. I mean, down to the core, devastated. And and they'll even acknowledge, they'll say, I was never this upset when my mom died. And don't get me wrong, I love my mom.
Right.
But my mom didn't. Or this dog just was there. And if I actually wrote all that down or had a penny each time, I'd be a millionaire. It's a different level.
It is, and it's the piece that I find absolutely fascinating I am absolutely riveted by the impact and the role that pets have on our lives now, more so in the past 15 years than ever before. I mean, I feel it personally, truly, and I probably should not admit this publicly, but I absolutely love. Obviously, I am absolutely in love with my daughter. She is the greatest gift that the world has ever given me, for sure. And I'm so proud of her, and I miss her when she's gone. And yet, when I travel, I tend to look at photos more so of my dog. And I know
I do too.
That, so that's why I'm being brave and kind of being a little vulnerable here, and admitting that I'm not a bad mom. I love my kid, but there's just something about my dog that it brings me peace if I'm feeling extra lonely or something, when I'm at the hotel by myself, or after a show if I'm really tired, and I just miss her differently, both my dogs differently than I do like my kid, or even my poor husband.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
Right. So, okay, Daniela just brought up a comment that I want to have you speak to, because it's so true. So she belongs to a private group that supports fur parents, in pet loss. It's amazing. Yes, in pet loss. Is that right? I'm thinking. So, how do you help people? Like, now, I know that you've gotten certified as a group counselor. How do you help people through this process? Because I know we all go through it differently. And I just want to say as well that last week when I talked with Dr. Betty, I afterwards was really emotional. I mean, all of a sudden I'm getting emotional thinking about it again. It's been 10 years since my very first dog passed. It's been almost 5 since Sasha passed, and yet, when I think about it, it does pull up some sudden emotion. And I thought, oh, I should be over that by now. And maybe you just don't ever get over it. How do you help?
Well, the biggest thing that I have found, and this might sound strange, is to talk someone in off the ledge, if you will, to let them know, you're normal, and to validate their grief, because people might say, oh, it's just your dog, or it's your hamster, or it's whatever that baby is, but that's their life. That is important to them. And unless someone has walked that journey and lost a pet, they don't know it. So, you have to validate that loss. And people are afraid to go to work, and you have to give them permission to feel. And well, that sounds really simple. It's really hard and humbling for someone to be that vulnerable. And so you got to listen, and you got to tell them that this is real. And then there's different grief coping skills, but a lot of times there might be misplaced. So let's just I'm going to say misplaced grief or feelings. So let's just go down to your mother did all this stuff. And so you love your mother, but your pet doesn't judge you. So all of that stuff, that misplaced stuff that you have over here, generally 100% accepting over here with your pet. So when that pet is gone, you don't have any place to go out and reach out to get that affirmation you need because of all those other reasons. I don't know if that makes sense to you. But so you have to give them coping skills.
It does. And somebody just mentioned too that part of it is that loss of that unconditional love, and not that you're not going to get that again through another pet. It's because purely they are the only ones who give us that. I mean, we're all in agreement on that. There's just no denying it. And there's such a need deep to our core as humans to feel connected to something, connected and loved in a way that we can be our purest, most authentic self, which we truly only are when we are, with our dogs. But I think, I just think it's human nature not to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and truly 100% real in front of everyone, right?
So I just want to share something that is really, I think, a huge movement. And I know that it's happening in a lot of places. So hospice, if you're familiar with the human hospice,
Yes.
Hospice is the king or queen of grief. And most places in the community recommend people go to hospice for grief. Well, hospices, at least where I live, I partnered with hospice. And so hospice now has brought in pet grief, and I work with hospice. And what has happened is everything has gone back and forth on the grief thing. And hospice now as a business is acknowledging pet grief. So if people are struggling, if they can't find pet grief in general or pet loss companioning through a pet loss provider, they really need to go to hospice, because there are free programs and there are support groups, that I've championed, and a lot of my colleagues have championed across the country doing the same thing. So this is a real need, and it's becoming popular.
It is, and one of the other things I want to encourage everybody to think about too is, just as you were saying, employers or people who work in a work environment need to give people permission, if you will, like allow them, not just have that approach of, here's your dog, like, what's going on, or your cat, or your bird. What we don't know, and this is so very true in general, no one understands the story that we all bring to the table on a daily basis, what goes on in the moments leading up to walking into the office or into the door. So that's first and foremost, allowing people grace for anything for that matter in that regard. But getting to the place within yourself of allowing yourself to seek out that help. I know myself at the beginning, I was like, I didn't want to keep crying all the time, because it's like, oh, you should pull yourself together, kind of thing, and not carry that elsewhere, but giving ourselves our own permission to, you know what, I'm sure I'm not alone in how I feel, that it was my dog, but there was such a deeper meaning. There's such deeper meaning. Right? And again, sometimes I wonder if it is different, and I'm just asking a question. I'm not making a statement here. I'm just saying that there's that guilt too, because when you do have children, you don't want to feel like, oh, you're grieving so much over this, and you have these beautiful children in your life as well, that others go, your kids, or whatever. I don't know. I guess I'm not articulating it as well as I would like, but there was that need for me to feel like I was in better control of my emotions around it. And so knowing that there are things out there now, encouraging people to say, you know what, I do need the support and the help, and I am totally normal in being fine one minute and then completely losing it the next.
There are no rules. And if people, you've got the Kubler-Ross, all the stages of grief, but it manifests in weird ways, and it's your journey, it's personal. And if people start judging you, the one thing though, at least for me, there comes a point in time where I can only take it so far, and a lot of pet grief people can only take it so far, and then it's time to move on to seek, when I say professional help, there's other issues behind that are underlying. And that's the key for ourselves, to put ourselves in check. Because, all right, I get depression is real, and I get your pet dying. Even if you are depressed to begin with, and then your pet dies, that escalates things. But there comes a point in time when you got to look a little deeper if you cannot pull yourself out of it.
Right.
And I just need to put that full disclaimer. Sometimes there's another underlying issue that can push everything up.
No, that's a very valid point. And introspective thinking and taking that time to look at that is very important too. And the support groups also that somebody mentioned early. I also want to say thank you guys for sharing all these great ideas. But so Anne was sharing that when her mother passed, someone made her a button, saying, please be a little bit more gentle with me. I'm going through something difficult. You know what? I would like one of those buttons just in general. Like, I want a button that says, I had a really rough morning.
Yeah, me too.
With me, or because sometimes people read so much into things and then they do not know how to respond or to interact with us. So these are all great ideas. I really appreciate that. Okay, let's see. A couple other questions I wanted to ask around this. Do you guys have any questions for Jody? Actually, before I have some questions, I want to move on to some of the the newer adventures that she's getting involved in. I'll give you guys a second if you have any questions. I love the support that you're giving each other.
Everybody is so kind.
Oh, Cindy, my first dog was Zoe also, so I totally can relate. Totally can relate. All right, we'll wait for one more second to see if there's some questions popping in. Well, if they pop in, I'll or any more comments. Just keep those comments. It's really great. So on a different note and also exciting, tell me, like, what prompted you to launch into the new venture that you're getting involved in, and how do you see this as really shaping the industry to help us as pet parents, the pet friendly?
Well, and I wish I could say I was the brainchild behind that, but I wasn't. It's all Peggy Hoyt. Peggy Hoyt is for those of you who don't know her, she is an elder care attorney who really champions pet trust. And so that's really important. And
I do jump in on that because I find it fascinating that both of you come from a background that is focused on elder care or, on the human side of things. And then you see like how this role that our pets play and, how things progress from that, which I think is interesting.
Well, and that was our tie, is because I'm a huge champion of when pet parents die, they come to our funeral home, but then they ask me, what do we do with our pet? And so you've got to have a plan, and Peggy advocates having a plan. So that was our tie-in.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Okay, go ahead. No, I was gonna. That just prompted another question that popped in around. We talk a lot about how we're dealing with things when the pet passes. What happens if the person passes and the pet?
I want to jump on that. This is really important. So, and I got to give kudos to our directors and a lot of funeral directors across America. If they ask, is there a pet in the house? Does the pet know that the owner died? That's, if our listeners are listening, or they need to kind of put that in the back of their mind if there's a pet in the home. So what happens is if a pet parent dies, there's a scent or a smell that goes on you. I mean, your body does its thing. That pet needs to smell that. So if there's a pet in the house and that person is in-home hospice, or I always affectionately say they wake up dead and they're no longer alive, that person needs to, someone who else is surviving needs to take that pet and let them smell that individual. And they're going to get and know what happened. Mm-hmm. So that brings closure. So that way that pet is no longer, looking out the window waiting for that person to come home. So conversely, if that pet is at the home and the human is at the hospital or in a hospice home, mm-hmm. and if you cannot bring the pet to that person to smell the body or the owner, then they need to take a towel or clothing, something, and rub it and get that scent and then bring it home and place it so that pet can do it. So now I'm going to do the role reversal. What happens when there's other pets in the house and a pet dies? All right, so let's just go two ways. The pet dies naturally at home. Well, other pets are going to be around. They need to sniff. All right, so they can do all kinds of things. And my cat jumped up and sat on my Ernie and just laid. So everybody will, another one just went and kind of did some nin-nins and left. So that's a nature thing. They understand nature and they're going to do their own gig, and that's okay. Now, you take that pet out of the home and you take that pet to be euthanized. That pet doesn't come back. I don't want to go on that car ride again. I don't know what's going on, but every time someone goes on a car ride, they don't come home. So what you want to do is either bring the pet back home, place it down on other pets to smell, or once again, take a blanket, get that scent, rub it all over the fur, the feathers, the skin, whatever. Bring it and place it on that pet's bed or somewhere and let them pay homage.
I know I already jumped to the other business that I did want to ask you about, but more questions are popping in my head. When you talk about bringing the pet home, many of us do use the cremation services, but others do not. Those people who wish to bury their animals in their yard, I mean, the reason why I couldn't is because I always moved and didn't have a stable place. But is there a certain process, or are there things that people should know about best practices in doing that? What do you recommend?
Well, I recommend a couple things. First of all, as there's three things really. Some people live on rural areas, out on a farm, farmland, whatever. There are no rules, meaning that you can do whatever you want and you can bury. Some people live in the city and there are ordinances. Either you go on the don't ask, don't tell, and I don't want to know about it, but they need to make sure that there isn't a neighbor that isn't going to alert the village or somebody or the city, because that is real and that does happen. Right? So that's number one. Number two, if you are going to bury, there's two schools of thought. One is the green burial thought, meaning that nature, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's all well and good, but you better make sure that you dig the hole deep enough. I'm talking like 4 to 6 feet down, and then you place that pet, something that's biodegradable, and then cover up. Because what's going to happen if it is not deep, depending on where you live, there are other critters. And those other critters, whether some people have foxes, they might have wolves, everybody's geographic area is different. And that will attract that. So you don't want that in your backyard or your front yard.
Right.
Number three, and I just try to be factual about things. So if you want to get a casket, there are pet caskets. I'm going to say something, and I'm an advocate of a casket, but I'm also going to say something. Get a good Rubbermaid container. Get something that seals. Put the animal in it and seal it, and then put it down. Now, back to the memorialization. If there are kids, do a backyard burial. Do the burial. Have the kids sign the casket. Write a note on the casket yourself. Place the favorite toys in there. If you dressed your pet up, put it in the little favorite outfit. Those are all beautiful things to do to honor. And then you would bury. And then you can go as far as getting a river rock or a little monument to make that happen.
So I'm reading the comments and just seeing some lovely things being said and written on how each person handles the situation. Somebody makes boxes for each dog, and just different things that people do. So I love that each of us has a very personal approach to everything. And I commend all of you guys for the different things that you're sharing, and how personal and meaningful those things are for you. That's important. I like that. Somebody in a biodegradable casket, the dust to dust approach, so lots of good stuff out there. So, all right, let's fast forward again. So we'll end on a note that gives us a little bit more joyous thoughts, although memorializing and remembering our pets always brings joy. The pet friendly.
Yeah, so just real briefly there is no one governing organization or platform, at least that we could find, where I'm going to say both businesses and consumers or pet parents can go to hold each other accountable. And so petfriendly.love is a platform where, and I literally like to think of it as when TripAdvisor meets Yelp, and there's either the Good Housekeeping or the J.D. Powers seal of approval. And the only way you can get that seal of approval is through a certification program. And that certification program is what's going to differentiate a business from its competitor. Okay. Now, not all businesses are pet-centric, but let's just pick on a Microsoft or a Google. Do they allow people to bring their pets to work? Do they allow pet bereavement leave? Do they promote a kind human-animal bond? Well, then I guess that would be a pet-friendly business. So what we're trying to do is cultivate accountability that fosters a strong human-animal bond and just doing the right thing, but also by allowing reviews. So something as simple as, am I staying at a hotel that's pet-friendly? Yeah. Were the rooms clean? No. So you might want to talk about that. So it is a work in progress. We have just, I mean, literally within the last 15, 20 days, launched the site. We're starting an ambassador program. So I encourage anybody out there to go to petfriendly.love and click on the ambassador program. What that does is it allows you to participate. But if you bring a friend or a pet business in, and they subscribe or take the Pet Friendly Pledge promise, there's a revenue stream for that individual up to 10% for 5 years. So, yeah, it's an opportunity for entrepreneurs. It's an opportunity for small businesses. But more important, what really blows my hair back is, let's just say if you're an animal shelter or you are a nonprofit with a benefit, it's a great way to get business to go to your cause. Nice.
Because those businesses are in support of animal welfare.
Yes. Yes.
I think
that's the vision.
I'm hoping, well, I think it's a great vision, and I'm hoping that Dog is Good would qualify. We, of course, we allow our pets to be here, and certainly, God forbid, anybody has to take animal bereavement, they could. And all in supporting, you guys know how I feel about supporting animal welfare. We are big. So, although apparently I'm not supporting my animal right now, who's scratching at my door. If you will, just give me 1 second. I'm gonna let her in for 1 second, real quick. Come on.
You gotta love it.
You do. I just do. She's right here. All right. So with that, you guys, I want you to check out petfriendly.love and you got the .love. I love that. That's awesome. And you guys watching, I'm so grateful again that you are here. I know all of us deal with this, have dealt with this, know people who will be going through this, and you're right, it's a great opportunity to totally get some fans. They're saying hi to you. It's a great opportunity to learn. And one of the things that I learned today that, quite honestly, I just didn't even think about it, is the questions that we need to ask, and possibly asking them at a time when we're not deep in the emotion of it all, so that we go to the table ready and prepared and already knowing what's going on and knowing what our vision is for our pet after, in the afterlife, if you will, as we memorialize them with us forever. I'm glad you love your dog. I don't know if you guys remember the design, I Cannot Live Without My Dog. That was one that came about. The dog on that is my dog. The silhouette of that is an older design, but I still have that, of course, at home and on a piece of wall art downstairs as well. And we have it as a car magnet. So that, just so if you guys want to know the history behind that particular one, that was created in that moment for me. So anyway, Jody, thank you so much. And once again, everybody, reminder, you still can enter to win our holiday drawing. We have the Happy Holodogs plaque and a hoodie, and we'll announce the winner in our private Facebook group. And again, huge shout out to everybody watching now and who were supporting us and having fun with us yesterday. I cannot tell you, I'm just going to share a little secret with you. I love goofing off more than anything, and I rarely get to do that. So to do those kinds of things makes it, I will, Cindy, that's great. It makes it really fun for me. So thank you for joining in on that. And with that, Jody, do you have anything else you want to share?
I do. If anybody wants to go to Jody Clock, JodyClock.com, I have lots and lots of information on my blogs about really a lot of things, end-of-life pets, or just the trends and things that they should ask. So, and this, I have it for the human side too, but really, I'm very passionate about the pets.
Yes, you are. And we'll put that into the notes here too. JodyClock.com. That's JodyClock.com. So go there. She is a wealth of resources and information, and certainly can provide help and guidance. And for those of you also doing a lot of the commenting, feel free to reach out to each other, connect. I'm sure you guys would be great resources. I learned a lot of some great ideas from you guys just watching too. So thank you for that. And with the holidays approaching, we have one more Be Live, Facebook Live, Dog is Good Lifestyle show coming up next week. And it's all on living with our pets. So that should be fun too. And then after that, we have the holidays. So as we're diving in, getting closer, I just want to tell you guys, I don't need to tell you guys already do this, I hope, and I'm sure. Best way to relieve stress in the holidays is just to sneak away with your pet. The best, right? I'm sure you guys are in agreement with me. Just take time to really enjoy the whole opportunity throughout the rest of this month to just reflect on the previous year, 2017, all the good things that happened, all the little wins that you had along the way, the new friends that you made, maybe the relationships that you left behind that are enabling you to move forward with a better smile on your face. But take some time to reflect with your pets and look forward to an exciting holiday season in year ahead. So with that, have a great Wednesday afternoon, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Not letting us end. Let's see. Hold on one sec.
I could sing and it would end.
Yeah, if I sang, they would totally want me to end. I do that often, though. Let's see. It's not ending. I might need to click out, and then I'll give you a phone call. How's that?
Okay. Okay. Bye-bye.